Good morning, everyone. Welcome to FBC Radio Live. It's Thursday. That's right. We're almost through another week. We know what games are happening when, who's going where, when they're happening, who's got the primetime games, and we're ready to break it all down. So we're going to jump right into it. We're not going to waste too much time. I'm going to give my co-host, Mr. Rhode Island, a big hearty and say, what's up, buddy? How you doing today?
La, la, la. And I'm going to say, what's up back? And I'm going to say, I'm doing well today. Thursday, May 13th. NFL schedules are out. A lot of speculation all put to rest. Now we know when the games are going to take place, where they're taking place. And we also have a lot of speculation now as to who's going to come away with victories, losses, and which is going to be the most hotly contested game in 2021. I think we all know that one, but in any case, I guess it's still up for debate for those that are not in the know.
Well, I know what's going to happen. Both the Patriots and the Bucks are going to go, ready? 20-1. Does that make sense? Yes, 20-1, correct? Yeah, well, no, 18-1. All right, 19-1. What? You know what? I should have written this down because I've clearly dug my own grave here. Basically, what I'm saying was both teams are going to meet in the Super Bowl, and I'm not going to tell you which team's going to win, but it would be the team that did not win the regular season matchup. Therefore, they both finish with almost identical perfect records, and the rest of the NFL and their fans weep, as the kids say on Twitter. So ignore my math. Just focus on my bigger point.
It was my understanding that there would be no math.
No, very little.
Yeah.
Clearly, by my
That's why I host this show.
yeah. Well, clearly by my clearly by my on-the-fly math attempts at math, it just does not work out pretty well. We're not going to continue too much into the arithmetic of many things, except for when we just make numbers up. But no, obviously. I mean, look, I if the Bucks went 19-1 or 20-1 or whatever the hell point I'm trying to make, 18-0 and 3 playoff victories, or 17-1 and 3 play. There we go. That's how I do it. 17-1 plus 3 playoff. 20-1. If they go 20-1, I wouldn't be surprised. If they go 19-2, I wouldn't be surprised. The Patriots, I would. Not to say I don't. I mean, I think they're going to be better than 7-9 just by virtue again of having the talent on the field, but I don't expect them to be a top team in the AFC, at least at this point. I mean, that could change, again, based on how Cam plays at the start of the season. But, if you get pretty good quarterback play out of Cam Newton or whoever, then, this Patriots team is going to be pretty good. So yeah, I mean, we obviously confirmed, and we got to talk about it a little bit yesterday, the Patriots-Bucks matchup, because we got an idea that it was going to be week 4 yesterday morning. It was one of the first games that kind of leaked out from sources or teams or whatever. So we kind of had an idea that they were going to meet. Obviously, that got finalized and confirmed later yesterday evening. But there's also several other games that were confirmed and obviously put into motion, because now we know the dates and when they're going to meet, when these teams are going to, or when these primetime games are going to happen. But I really am looking forward to that first Patriots game, to be honest with you. And it's not because it's Miami. It's because the game's in Foxborough against Miami, which means the Patriots luck out and get to go play down in Miami in, does it work out to be December or January? I know it's at the very end of the season. So
January.
I was going to say it might be January 2nd that happens. So I'm pretty happy about that. Let's see. What other, I guess in general, what other games stuck out before we get into some of the specifics and some of the big news of the day, including a massive quarterback signing in the NFC North, potentially this year's MVP. No, I'm kidding, but we will touch on that. But to you, what games stood out to you the most, or at least anything Patriot related, Bucks related, or just NFL in general?
Well, I mean, obviously, opening weekend's going to be interesting for the NFL without any question. I mean, you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now, you look at them taking on the Dallas Cowboys to open the season. That'll be an intriguing matchup. We'll see what Dallas is made of. We'll see how Dak Prescott is able to get through his injury and how he's responded. That's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, all eyes are on October 3rd and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New England Patriots. That stood out. We talked about that a lot yesterday. From a Patriots standpoint, I'm looking forward to Week 9. I'm looking forward to Cam Newton going down to Carolina and taking on his former team. Again, the writer identifying with the team he covers. To me, this is not as compelling, obviously, as the Brady reunion and him coming back to Foxborough. But I think this is still a very big matchup for the Pats, and it's a very big matchup for Cam. Reportedly, it wasn't necessarily a harmonious breakup down there. There was a little bit of acrimony toward the end of Cam's time in Carolina, so I'm looking forward to that one. Naturally, again with the Patriots, the Buffalo Bills having a Monday nighter to lead the Patriots into their Week 14 bye. And that's going to be a tough task for the New England Patriots, getting 14 weeks into the season without getting a bye. That's a grind. And Bill Belichick always prides himself on fielding a team that is well conditioned, that's well capable of handling these types of stretches. But a 14-game stretch without a break is going to be difficult for the New England Patriots. They're going to be worn. They're going to be battle tested by the end of that. And honestly, that's a huge game for the New England Patriots because they're going to need to keep pace in this division if they want to have any chance of being able to compete. And right now, I still think the Buffalo Bills are a cut above them in the division race, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Pats can do. So those are the ones that I have my eye on, at least from a Patriots standpoint. These games are definitely going to be hotly contested, and there's a lot of people all over the place that are saying that, the Patriots are a 7-win team, they're a 9-win team. I've seen predictions as high as 12, 13. Again, I'm going like right in the middle. I think they're an 11-win team right now. And I don't think that's a stretch of the imagination. I do think that they have the capabilities of making some of these games count, and I think that's exactly what they will do. So we'll see. We'll see what happens and how these teams are able to get through. But it's good to have the schedule out, bud.
Well, it's honestly, it's a pretty good it's a pretty good slate of Monday Night Football games in general, and I'm actually going to try to pull it up so we can actually have it up here on the screen. But I'm looking over it now, and there's really not that many matchups you look at and you're like, I could go without missing. And it starts off, we get the doubleheader. Actually, no, I apologize. We do not get the doubleheader kickoff Monday Night Football schedule, which I forgot. We had actually talked about this a few weeks ago. So no doubleheader this year, but we do get the Ravens and Raiders to kick off the Monday night slate, which I think that's a pretty good game. I'm excited to see that. I want to see how Raiders look. I mean, maybe they have a different quarterback at that point. You never know. But at the same time, I also want to see the Ravens, who you would figure are going to be one of the key teams in the hunt in the AFC and certainly in the AFC North. So I mean, I look at that and I'm like, wow, so they get off to a pretty good start. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to have this up here in just a moment so we can, there we go. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Monday Night Football. So yeah, I mean, I like the Ravens Raiders, Lions Packers could certainly be a lot different than what we assume it is right now. It's already going to be different than what we normally have seen that matchup with the addition of Matt Stafford. But we're a long ways from figuring that situation, sort of say, with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers. So who knows who's going to be the starter? Maybe it's Blake Bortles, newly signed Blake Bortles. That's right. Packers are loading up on quarterback, so you can only you can draw your own conclusions from that. I like to think that they're probably, or not. I like to think I assume what they're doing is just covering their own rear end. If they decide there's nothing they can do to fix the Aaron Rodgers situation. At least they have something to fall back on. At least they have bodies available to play the quarterback position because,
Right.
if, right now, I mean, you believe in Jordan Love? I mean, I don't know. I don't really know a lot about Jordan Love, to be honest with you. So yeah, that matchup can look pretty interesting. You got the Bears and the Steelers in Week 9. You got the Raiders again on Monday Night Football, Raiders and Chargers. Saints Seahawks, that could be pretty intriguing. Obviously, the Saints with Jameis Winston. The Saints, I was actually kind of surprised. They got quite a bit of primetime action this year, and that is obviously without Drew Brees. So the NFL obviously sees them as still a pretty big draw, and that might just be in that, that intrigue in that first season post Drew Brees. Regardless of how good they are, there's probably enough intrigue there to say, okay, I'm curious to see what they look like. So maybe that's a reason why they got so many primetime games. But looking at this schedule, does any other games stick out to you that really kind of get your attention?
Well, speaking just purely from the entertainment standpoint, Bears Raiders in October 10th. It's a Sunday afternoon game. Obviously, the whole Khalil Mack factor coming into play there. The Bears right now are an interesting team. I know a lot of people are starting to warm to the idea that this team can really be a factor in the NFL this year, especially if Justin Fields plays well. We know that defense can play at an elite level. Have they done enough on offense to balance the ticket? That could be a very intriguing matchup. So, yeah, Bears Raiders on the 10th is something that I've been looking at. Brown Steelers to open up the 2022 calendar year is another one that's always going to be interesting. That's a Monday nighter. That's on the schedule right now. You can see it. To me, I think that's going to be a fun game to see. So, both these teams are going to be competitive. There's no question about it. But those are some of the games that kind of jump off the page at me. But, I think we're all talking semantics. When you look at hotly, anticipated matchups of the 2021 NFL season, it begins and ends on October 3rd in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And I think all eyes are on that. We talked about it yesterday here, talked about it a lot all day yesterday on a lot of different various podcasts and appearances. So I think we've got a very, very sharp eye on that one, but some interesting matchups down the line as well. Bills and Titans. I'm looking at the Monday Night Football schedule right now. The Titans have a chance, I think, at that division without any question about it. They're well coached. They've got obviously all the ammunition in the world on both sides of the ball to be able to take that division. Buffalo Bills want to show they're for real and that they can contend with the Kansas City Chiefs for a spot in the AFC. That could be a very intriguing matchup, mid-season when both of these teams are starting to hit their stride. Who's going to be able to pull away in the AFC and be that top competitor to the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe even topple them when it comes to getting the AFC crown? So a lot of interesting matchups, but those are some of the ones that I'm watching.
Yeah, and again, I mean, we can't help but talk about, obviously constantly mention the Patriots, but they got some key matchups, and you know what? I like their chances maybe early on in the season. Catch the Bucks. Do I think they're going to win? I don't know. We haven't got to that far yet. We haven't got to the point where we're going to sit here and say, oh yeah, the Patriots are going to win. No, we don't yet. As we get a little bit closer, we will determine that. But I just threw up the Sunday Night Football matchup. So we just talked about obviously Monday, Sunday. That's where that Patriots. I'm looking at it right now. Week 4.
Yep, week 4.
Yep, you see it. The idea, and you brought this up yesterday, the idea that Brady could potentially break the passing yards mark in that Week 4 matchup is intriguing, to say the least. You went over some of the details. He needs 1,149 yards to tie Drew Brees. Obviously, 1,150 to surpass Drew Brees, who has obviously retired, so he will not be having any say in how this goes down. Last season, he averaged 289 yards per game. He will have to average 287 through the first 4 games to do that. So certainly well well within his grasp and reach in terms of
it's possible.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. Honestly, I honestly think he's going to do it. Tampa for the most part has a pretty favorable schedule, and I do think that this team is going to. I think you're going to see them start pretty fast. Obviously having training camp, playing with the confidence of being the champions and just getting that, just those first few games out of the way. I mean, they start off with the Cowboys, who, to my understanding, don't necessarily have a defense, so or at least one good enough. The way I look at it, Mike, and you can attest to this reminds me of a Patriots Steelers matchup.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're like, wow, okay, two of the big teams in the conference, but it's not even close. I mean, anytime, whether it's regular season or if it was the playoffs and the Patriots played the Steelers, it was the most stress-free, relaxing build-up, duration, and post-game ever, because they just every time it was just, you know what, they're going to carve them apart. It doesn't matter how good the Steelers have been. I don't care if they're 14-2, 15-1, 13-3. I don't care. Just every time they face the Patriots, it was, and I kind of get that feeling, not because the Bucs and the Bucs and the Cowboys have that type of history, but because I look at it in a lot of the same way, where it's like, yeah, there's the Cowboys. They probably have a pretty good offense. They're probably a pretty good team in general, but that defense, and I look at it, I'm just like, I look at it and I see they're so overmatched, and they're going to get shredded by Brady in this offense. And Brady has individual success against the Cowboys that is almost flawless. So, like, to me, I look at it, I'm like, this has just got the makings of a just classic beat down, send them home, kind of, tail between their legs type of matchup. And obviously the momentum and everything, the build up of it being, the first game of the season and being national television, I do expect them to jump out on them pretty quickly. So to me, I look at that as, setting him up nicely to get to that potential, 1,151 yard mark by week 4, which again, regular season only, because as we know, if you include the postseason, which you should, because those stats count too.
Right.
Tom is clearly by far already the leader in pretty much everything. And really the reality of it is the big picture, he could be the first player to surpass 100,000 career yards, as he sits right now at about 91,000 and change. So it's very well within his grasp, given the fact that he signed on for this season and next to get to that point. But we're talking about this season. We're talking about week 4 in particular. Yeah, that'll be fun. I've seen, Mike, that tickets are going. Well, guess what? The early reports, early returns are that they are quite expensive, and I don't think they're going to get it much better from here on out.
No, I can tell you right now they won't. The cheapest ticket that I saw available was $1,150, and basically at this point you're watching the game from a helicopter, folks.
Yeah.
I mean, you really are. I mean, Gillette Stadium is not the steepest stadium in the world, but those upper deck seats do not give you the option and do not give you the chance to view a whole hell of a lot on the field and be able to see it without really good binoculars or without a really good view of the Jumbotron. So in that respect, yeah, I don't see these tickets getting any cheaper. It's going to be an expensive night. It's the hottest ticket in town. Everybody wants to be at Gillette for Tom's return. And it's going to continue to be that way. And you're going to continue to hear this. This is going to be talk show fodder from now until October 3rd. This is going to be brought up on a regular basis. Oh, you think Bill's got it set? Think Bill's got this one circled? Oh, Bill's going to try to stop him. Well, he's not going to be able to stop Tom. It's going to go back and forth. And you're going to hear all kinds of idiotic narratives. You'll hear about, early morning breakfasts, I'm sure, again, about this one and how Bill Belichick is trying to infiltrate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're already seeing that people are saying, don't be a bit surprised if Tom and Rob aren't the only ones coming back to Gillette. We saw that earlier. Folks, don't buy into the noise. Don't buy into the hype. Don't buy into the clickbait machines that you're going to see churning all throughout this cycle. Stick to the game, because honestly, on paper, this game has a chance to be a very good one. This Patriots defense is going to be a lot better than people are giving credit for. I joined the guys at Locked On Live last night for a live reaction show to the schedule release. And one of the reasons why I'm so confident that the Patriots can pull off a double-digit win season is because of that defense. It's because of what Bill Belichick has done. He has upgraded and fortified that defense in all three phases. The interior of the defensive line now, stout defenders, guys that can't be moved, guys that can play their assignment as assigned. The edge rush is definitely solid. The linebacking core is definitely upgraded from what they had last year. And they still have one of the better secondaries in the NFL. So as long as you have that type of defense in New England, Bill Belichick's going to keep that team competitive. And that's why I think they're going to end up winning more than losing this year.
You know, if I'm Chris Collinsworth, I'm pretty happy right about now because I'm looking at 3 times the Chiefs being on Sunday Night Football and back-to-back Chiefs and a Packers game. You know, again, assuming
there we go.
that Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback of the Packers at the time.
Over under on how many times you hear, now here's a guy.
Oh, geez, I can't even count that high, to be honest with you. I couldn't even give you that number.
That's one game. That's just one game you can't count that high. We're not talking about the season. We're talking about uncountable levels here.
Well, just think about shout out to our guy, Chris Blackie.
Hey, there he is. Chris,
get involved. Morning, follow him at Chris_Blackie. He likes to talk about Bruins and David Krejci a lot. So, no, I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, we get week 2. First, the Rams and the Bears. That should be a fun week 1 Sunday Night Football matchup. A nice NFC matchup. You get Jared Goff, obviously. Not there anymore. You get Matt Stafford as opposed to Jared Goff, and obviously Matt Stafford coming from the NFC North, having played for the Lions, so he's very familiar with the Bears. So there's a lot of intrigue with that. But very second week of the season, you got the Chiefs, you got the Ravens. I already know it. I'm calling it right now. What is it's May the 12th, May the 13th. Okay, and you're going to get an insufferable amount of fawning over the immaculate incompletion, okay, from Chris Collinsworth and company, and it should be as expected because it's quite nauseating at this point. But I feel like it's gonna reach a fever pitch, and I hate saying fever pitch because I hate that movie. Anytime I hear the word fever pitch, I have to inform you how much I hate that god awful movie. It's just so bad.
Yeah, it really is.
I'm about to cry right now. I hate it so much. It
makes me think back to that night in 2004 when the Sox finally were able to
break
free.
I almost didn't want them to because of that movie.
Fox had Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore jumping out there on the field. I remember looking at it going, "What the hell are they doing?" And then they came out with this movie. So it's like,
terrible. Hated Jimmy Fallon ever since. Not to mention, I hate that he always laughed at everything. Just, come on, stop it. Professionalism, damn it. Anyways, let's not go down that road. I don't want to go into Jimmy Fallon fever pitch rant. We only have 25 minutes, and I don't think I can fit it all in that time frame.
Yeah, I don't think we can either, man.
No, I mean, look, let's be honest. We're going to get that every time we get Sunday Night Football or any sort of primetime matchup, or game with the Chiefs involved. It's going to be a Mahomes fawning because, we've seen it all off season. So prepare for that. But outside of that, I'm pretty excited for their matchups. Not only, obviously, the Ravens against the Ravens in week 2, but week 5, Bills and Chiefs. A potential AFC Championship matchup.
Absolutely.
So, that's certainly one I'm certainly keeping an eye on. Then, of course, later in the season, you got that Raiders Chiefs, classic rivalry matchup. Again, the Raiders are a team that could potentially have a different quarterback. So we'll kind of have to see where that goes. But what other games stick out to you? And do you think, again, based on the number of games that the Packers are getting, do you think the NFL is banking on Aaron Rodgers remaining with the Packers? Because I don't see any Denver Broncos games coming up, and that seems like a team that would be right in the mix for Aaron Rodgers if he were to get moved.
Yeah, without any question. It looks right now like the NFL is banking on him being there. I mean, you look just like right off the top of your head, you just look at these matchups. You see week 3, Sunday Night Football,
Yep.
Packers 49ers, huge game. If Rodgers is still there, that's definitely a game to keep an eye on. Week 14, Bears Packers. Whether Rodgers is there or not, Bears Packers is always an event. That's one of the most hotly contested rivalries in professional football. So that's going to be a big game no matter what. But Rodgers being there late season, that's a big game. To close it out almost to close it out, I should say, is going to be the Vikings and the Packers, week 17. So these games could be flexed if Rodgers is not there, if the Vikings and the Packers are out of contention at that point. Do they move another game in the rotation up that has a little bit more playoff significance? But right now, it's looking like the NFL is planning on Aaron being in Green Bay for the long haul. You mentioned matchups that are on my radar. I'm looking at week 7 right now, the Colts and the 49ers. I'm going to call that the Snowman Bowl instead of the Snowball. Our good friend Brian Snow, those are two teams that he's very well connected to and very well invested in. So I know he's going to have that one circled in week 7 on his calendar. But, you look at others, potential matchups. Niners and Hawks are always going to be an interesting matchup down the line when you look at division implications. Does Washington Dallas in week 16 have any type of playoff implications for these two? Are those two teams the ones that are vying for the NFC East at that point? So a lot of interesting and intriguing matchups on the horizon. I think Steelers Chargers is going to be fun to watch. Right now the Steelers are looking like they'll be very much competitive, very much in the mix for that division. I think the Chargers are going to be a lot better this year than they were last year. One full year with Justin Herbert now calling signals. I think the Chargers have a chance to make some noise in that division a little bit, especially if Denver does not end up procuring the services of Aaron Rodgers. Right now, you have to look at it and say the Chargers could make a little bit of noise in that division. Maybe tug at the heels of Kansas City. I don't think they're on their level, but they can make life difficult for them by piling together some wins. So this is a good Sunday Night Football slate. The NFL did a good job of putting these games together. I'm looking at it now, and I don't see a whole lot of matchups that. Right now I'm looking at and saying, yeah, maybe I'll skip that one. They really all look like pretty good games. And assuming that the schedule falls the way it does, I think this one has a chance to be pretty good.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, obviously that can change with how these teams go throughout the season. I mean, the Seahawks, and I don't wish injuries on anyone, but say they suffer a few key injuries, and maybe they're not the team. Sort of like what happened to San Francisco a year ago. Everyone was going into the season saying, "Oh, San Francisco," but by the end of the year, obviously they were ravaged with injuries, and they weren't the team that everyone expected. So, but for the most part, going into the season, like you said, I'm looking at so far Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, and there's hardly a soft part of the schedule, which I guess brings us to Thursday Night Football, which is traditionally the sometimes you don't always get the best matchups on Sunday Night Football. Now, they may have some intrigue to them, but for the most part, the football's probably not going to be good. And for example, Bengals, Jags. I mean, outside of the two first overall picks.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow. That's...
It's
you can make the argument that that's not enough. I get it.
Yeah. So again, there's some good matchups there. You have the Giants and Washington Football Team. You have rematch of Super Bowl 51. Look at that right at the top. How many 28-3 jokes? We should have started.
And it's in Atlanta too. So
yeah. That should be fun. So that's obviously intriguing. I look at you see the Chiefs and Chargers up there. Two young quarterbacks going at it, and in the division. But again, there's a lot just lacking. It looks like the Broncos' one and only primetime game. It comes against the Browns. Now, again, that could potentially be Aaron Rodgers under center. You never know. But to me, I look at it, I'm like, okay, this is Thursday night's usually like, okay, if I can miss a game, if I need to half pay attention, then okay, we can do that. But to me, Thursday definitely brings up the rear. And look, you know how I feel, or at least if you don't know how I feel, I think they should get rid of Thursday night games in general. I just don't. I'd rather condense my football into Sunday and Monday, and obviously keep the Thursday for Thanksgiving, because with all the Thursday night games now, I feel like even Thanksgiving has lost some of its specialness. I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just waxing poetically about the past. Oh, the good old days of no Thursday night football. But no, I do think that there is, just kind of sometimes a little bit of an oversaturation. And when you're trying to force a mediocre to bad game in the middle of the week, I just don't get it. But at the same time, the NFL is never going to change because it does make money and people watch, and that's the point.
That is true.
The more football throughout the week, the better for the NFL. I mean, we just watched a schedule release show last night, folks.
Yeah.
But think about that. We watched them release a schedule that we already knew about 90% of. So whatever they do, however much we complain, we're still going to watch, and likely watch the majority, even this Thursday night. But does any of these matchups stick out to you, or are you am I just being a little bit too harsh on this slate?
No, I mean it's kind of hard not to be harsh on this slate. You look at it, and for example, like you mentioned the Monday nighters, you mentioned the Sunday night games. You look at that. There's intrigue. There's divisional matchups. There's hotly contested matchups. Things that are going to possibly determine how this season might shake out. You don't see a lot of that on the Thursday night slate. I guess Browns and Broncos has a chance to be a very interesting game if Aaron Rodgers ends up in Denver. If he doesn't, that takes a little bit of the luster out of that matchup. Kansas City and the Chargers, again, if the Chargers are able to rebound and play, at a high level, that could end up being interesting, because they may have playoff implications, divisional implications. By history of the way this rivalry goes, the Chargers always play the Chiefs very difficult. They seem to have their difficulties with them. So that could be an interesting matchup. Obviously, anything that involves the defending Super Bowl champions is going to be intriguing. So Eagles Bucks is going to be a good matchup. You'll definitely see Tom Brady at his best when it comes to that. Dolphins Ravens, I'm looking at it right now. That could be an intriguing matchup. What type of Baltimore Ravens team are we going to see this year? Some people are predicting that they may not break the double-digit win total. I think that's a little odd, but maybe some of the bloom is off the rose when it comes to Baltimore. This will prove a year for them. They really have to come back and show that Lamar Jackson is the guy. They're capable on both sides of the ball of making plays and being a formidable team. But other than that, I don't see a whole lot of real intriguing matchups on a Thursday night this year. So unfortunately, I think, Thursday night football kind of bringing up the rear again. But, anything and everything can happen in the NFL, and who knows, once these schedules and once these teams start playing these games, and once we start finding out who's for real, who's not, there could be some matchups in here that might be diamonds in the rough, maybe having some, significant implications. So I'm not ready to completely throw out the schedule just yet, but as of right now, not too much. I got my eye on the Patriots and the the Falcons, and that's pretty much it right now for me.
Yeah, it's a big giant meh for me too. But again, it's kind of what we expect. I mean, you can only, there's so many primetime games throughout the season, and you can only pinpoint so many primetime matchups, and you have enough for everyone. And I think everyone understands that Thursday night football is probably on the bottom of the priority list when it comes to getting these names. And I don't think that's any secret. I mean, it's pretty clear. So this isn't surprising, but at the same time, you're like, I feel like the Sunday and the Monday night slate is so good. Now, again, much like we said about those other ones, some of these matchups, I mean, the Falcons and Jets could end up being the two best teams in the league. And, you know what I mean? Okay. I can't even keep
I wish I had the ability, folks. I wish I had the ability to isolate that statement.
Yeah.
And play it consistently.
I will.
Over and over again.
Will.
You just mentioned the Jets as a possibility of the best team in the league.
I know. I'm sorry, folks. I can't even keep a straight face and say I'm trying to be a professional, but
could happen.
No, it can't.
But
It can't. No, it can't. They're the only team right now that you can just say their season's over. It's the Jets. Their season is over. No, but
it kind of reminds me of a buddy of mine used to say before the Sox and the Cubs won World Series titles. We used to joke about it all the time when we were kids, and we would say, what would happen if the Red Sox and the Cubs ever went head on head in the Super Bowl? And he just looked at me and he says, "Mike, that'll never happen." He said that'll never happen.
All,
God himself will come
the
down
NFL,
on the field and he'll end the world before that happens. And he'll do it during the 7th inning stretch of Game 7.
That pre-2004 mentality is really something. Obviously, we both experienced it quite a bit. Things have obviously changed since then, but yeah, it's funny because you could have never imagined at that time that either of those teams would have done what they've done since then. So, yeah. So, is it possible? Sure, anything is possible, my friend.
Possible,
as I like to say. But is it likely? Not bloody likely, as other people like to say. So, the Jets, although they could happen, assuming that every other team somehow gets wiped out from some sort of asteroid and they're the only ones that survive, well, yes, then they would be the best team in the NFL. Aside from that, probably not. But the point stands. We look at the schedule now and say, oh, these games are kind of meh, but at the end of the day, they could end up being very intriguing. Maybe something a little bit more realistic. Maybe the Cardinals and Colts turn out to be, two of the top teams in their respective conferences, and I can buy that a little bit more than the Jets. So that's my thought. That's my theory. So I got to ask you something, Mike.
Okay.
I feel the need for something. Do you know what it is?
Speed?
Is? Yes. I see. I didn't even have. I had no doubt you're going to know exactly what I was talking about. And 35 years ago, yesterday, my friend, 35 years ago, Top Gun was released in theaters. A little bit before my time, and by a little bit, I mean about 5 months before my time, because I was born October of 1986, and this obviously came out in May of 1986. But obviously, I love that movie. I know you do because it's from the 80s, and you tend to like pretty much everything from the 80s. So, but we didn't get a chance to bring that up yesterday. Actually, I didn't realize it until after the show yesterday, but I felt obligated to bring it up because, well, it's a great show. Great movie, I mean.
Yeah, without question. And 35 years, wow, yeah, it does make you feel a little old. It makes me feel a little old. I was not even 6 years old yet when that movie came out, but the sequel is going to be hotly anticipated. I know a lot of people are waiting for it. Supposedly, we're going to get a holiday time release in the theaters. I know they said it was supposed to be ready for last year. Obviously, COVID put a huge damper on all movie plans, big time blockbusters. A lot of them waited until this year, and Top Gun Maverick, I guess, is going to be the name of the sequel. Will be coming out the end of this year. Take my money. I'm going to go see it. I'm definitely going to go see that. There's no question about it. It's just one of those things where you have to. I mean, if you're a fan of the original, you have to see it through. And word has it from the reviews that I was reading before COVID and everything that happened there, this looks to be a pretty good script. The action scenes are going to be great. Bruckheimer once again back doing the production, so it's going to be this big time production in terms of what they're going to bring to the table, special effects and things of that nature. So should be a fun one, should be a good one, and I'll definitely go to see the sequel, but it's never going to recapture the magic of the original.
Of course.
I don't think but sequels almost never do.
No, and honestly, it's a matter of perspective. There's if you have these high expectations, it's kind of like what I was talking about with the Patriots all last year. If you don't adjust your expectations, of course you're going to be disappointed. But if you go into it, expecting what it should be, and that is, a nostalgic, because all these remakes, that's what they are. They're nostalgic look backs and recalls to the original, and there's a good way to do that. Not everyone hits that. And I get, there's some sequels or remakes that just really fall flat. There's others that kind of get you what you want, and that's a fun look back at kind of a lot of the key things. And I'm hoping we get this. And since it's being released around the holiday season, is Top Gun a Christmas movie now? Is that going to be the new discussion? Christmas movie? I don't know. Maybe we'll have to discuss this around Christmas time. But I will, like you said, take my money. Only
if John McClane shows up and takes Maverick to Nakatomi Plaza and drops him off the front of the top of the building, or Iceman, one of the two. I mean, that'd be good. That'd be good. John McClane showing up to cause havoc in Top Gun. You want to talk about a mashup? That'd be pretty good.
We should write our own Top Gun movie. How
exactly.
The gang from Always Sunny created their own Lethal Weapon 5. We should make our own Top Gun. We should make our own movie sequels.
Yep.
And play our own
Top
roles.
Gun 3, Yippee-ki-yay. How's that?
Yeah, I like it, folks. If you want to get involved, let us know. If you want to play a role, we got you. We'll cast you in our movies, and we'll make a production out of them. Actually, that now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not that. We can make some really crappy, but purposely crappy movies, and I think they would be pretty good. It would give us a chance to really show off our acting chops, as they say.
We have acting chops.
Yeah, we got something. I don't know if it's that, but it's something.
I got a headband. I showed it to you last week.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You do. Speaking of remakes and sequels from movies of yesteryear, you know what I finally got around to watching somewhat recently, and I actually really enjoyed it, was the new Jumanji. Yeah, have you seen
it yet? I haven't seen the new Jumanji. I liked the original with Robin Williams, so I was a little skeptical to see it. But again, The Rock, you gotta,
Rock or Jack Black, and whether you like him or not, Kevin Hart. I think he. I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Hart's stand up, but I think his. He can be really funny in the roles that he plays sometimes, and I enjoy that. So, but. Look, I say all the time, I will watch anything with The Rock in it. Anything. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Draw your conclusions from what I said there. But the point is, I think The Rock is great actor, for his role. Again, expectations. Do you expect him to be Al Pacino? No. But, given what he does, it's I love what he does. And I'll go see any movie that he does. And again, I happen to think he's one of the good guys out there. We see a lot of bad things about, these famous people, and so far so good with The Rock. But
yeah, absolutely.
I finally got around to watching it, and I actually kind of enjoyed it. I mean, the concept being, obviously it's modern, so it was based around a video game, and based on my understanding of the movie, it seems like the actual game box, the original game box, was transformed into a video game. So, we get same concept. You get into a video game and they're playing the roles of these characters. So it was really fun, and I actually really enjoyed it. But since we're talking about remakes of movies years later, that was kind of relevant, and I enjoyed it. So I recommend it, Mike. Recommend it.
Absolutely. I definitely will check it out. And again, the Rock factor, got to go see it, got to do that. But again, because I'm a fan of the original with Robin Williams, you kind of have to see how these movies play out. I always tell myself I'm not going to see a remake. I'm not going to see a reboot. 7 or 8 times out of 10, I'll end up caving, just because you just want to see what they did with it, the concept that they bring to the table. Is it close to the original? Did they really, do a like for like remake? Things of that nature. So yeah, this is one I'll definitely check out. Thank you for the recommendation.
Of course, that's what I'm good for, Mike. Recommendations. No, but I guess I'll put you on the spot a little bit here. Is there a movie out there that you actually want to see remade? That
remade?
Yeah, from your past, either remade or sequel. That's those terms are kind of, what I'm saying. It could be a sequel, but the point being, like a movie that was probably released 15 plus years ago, being redistributed now,
being brought back. A lot of people are probably going to be surprised that I'm not going to say Godfather 4, simply because I'm not as low on part 3 as a lot of people are. Now, I don't think it measures up to the first two. I'll be
Mhm.
very honest, but I also am not going to go out on a limb and have the vitriol that a lot of people have for Godfather 3. You look at it as a standalone movie. There's some great performances in that. I think the script is tighter than people give it credit for. Yeah, there's some elements of it that I wasn't crazy about and things I would have stayed away from. But I mean, who am I compared to Francis Ford Coppola? I'm not exactly on his level. He knows movie making much better than me. I'm going to defer to him every single time. But yeah, The Godfather would not be on that list of movies that I want to see either remade or sequelized or anything like that, simply because I think they ended it the way it needed to be ended. Now, could they have maybe gone in a different direction leading up to that? Possibly, but you end that saga with the death of Michael Corleone, and to me, there's really no other place to go after that. I don't think any of the other characters were capable of capturing what that movie did. So, The Godfather not on my list. I'm still curious as to see what they're going to do with Indy 5 because Indy 4 with the aliens, I wasn't a big fan of that. I'm a huge, huge Indiana Jones fan. I love the original trilogy. I want to see if they're going to be able to end this because obviously they're doing it. So I want to see how they're going to end this and maybe bring a little bit more dignity back to that franchise.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see that too. And I'm kind of with you. I mean, at this point, I mean, all these movies from the '80s are getting remade already, so there's not really too many things to choose from to, say, hey, I want this done because, well, it's probably already in the works or probably already has been done.
Yeah.
But no, there's to your Godfather point real quick, and we're gonna have to wrap up here because we're running out of time. But I just don't see. I mean, on top of that, you need an all-star cast. You know what I mean? And
Right.
not necessarily all-star known actors, but you need the entire cast to hit. So not only do you have to capture the content and the feel and everything involved and obviously work around, like you said, the death of Michael Corleone, you have to find the perfect cast to put it all together. And to hit all of that and to then deliver a movie on par with some of the original ones, that's going to be tough. But unfortunately, some of these studios don't necessarily look at it this way. They look at it as, well, it's The Godfather. It will sell. Who cares what happens afterwards? And that's why we get, well, let's say Dumb and Dumber. Remember that sequel? Oh God, that was awful.
Yeah.
That in theaters. Oh my God, it's terrible. But anyways, that's what we get. What we get. So, any final thoughts there, Mike? Final thoughts to wrap up a Thursday.
No, just looking forward to wrapping up and closing the week in style here tomorrow on Flush the Format Friday. Going to be interesting. It's always fun. It's always fun to bring it home on a Friday here on FPC.
I love it. I love it, and that's what we're going to do. So, in the meantime, give us a follow on Twitter at FPC Radio Live, at Full Press Radio. I am at IGLEN31. That's right there up on the screen, and he is at MDABATEFPC. That's right. That's right. Follow us, yell at us, complain to us. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Engage with us. We have a lot of fun, and we have a lot of fun on the show, and we will see you tomorrow.